you know, it was really a coup of somebody.
Yeah.
Let me detour and I'll come back.
Please do.
All right.
Yeah, it's good to be here.
Future
Thank you.
Vice President of the United States.
Do you notice what these video clips all have in common? They aren't some big news network like Fox or CNN. No, these interviews are all done by independent creators on the internet. That's right, legacy media is dying and being replaced by streamers and podcasters. And even though it might sound crazy, people like Aiden Ross, the Nelk Boys, and Logan Paul will be the future of public discourse in this country. Throughout this video, we will go over the history of legacy media's influence in politics, why it's on the decline, and how digital media will become the future of political discourse in this country. And Trump's interview with Aiden Ross is really, you know, honestly just the start of it. For the past however many decades, legacy media has controlled the discourse of what people think in this country. So how did this happen, and why are they so dominant? Well, to answer this, I will use the first presidential debate as an example.
Of course it is not possible, particularly under the proposals that Senator Kennedy has advocated.
On that question, the Vice President and I disagreed.
Richard Nixon versus John F. Kennedy. This was the first televised presidential debate ever, which saw 70 million Americans tune in to see which candidate they would support. Opposed to other forms of information, televised content is much more entertaining, and JFK knew this. That's why he meticulously chose a dark blue suit and put on some makeup to look as best as he could. This strategy will convey him as a good-looking, confident, and powerful leader, something in which his opponent Nixon failed on, looking like this. Historical scholars still dispute how important JFK's appearance in that debate was to his eventual victory, but everybody agrees it helped him on some level. That's just it though. This is why legacy media has dominated since at least the 60s when PBS broadcasted this debate. Televised content adds another dimension to information and can reveal a lot more than mere words on a newspaper or audio recordings on a radio. So the fact that a few media companies have a monopoly over this super important, dare I say, the most important source of information is why they have dominated the flow of information for so long. Okay, so how does an industry like legacy media decline when they have a monopoly over the most important way of spreading information? Well, that's because one single invention broke the monopoly, that being the internet, but more specifically, social media. This technology made it possible for the average citizen to become a journalist or to start a news show of their own. Are you a liberal but fed up with CNN or MSNBC? Well, you can watch the David Pacquiman show.
And by the way, of course I'm not campaigning. I'm leading by so much. Why on earth should I campaign? A disastrous press conference leading to questions again. Can this guy even make it to November?
Are you a conservative but fed up with Fox News or Newsmax? Well, you can watch the Ben Shapiro show.
Believe in the collective. We're not falling for these folks who are trying to divide us, trying to separate us,
Believe in the
trying to
collective.
pull us apart. That's not where the strength lies.
The collective. The strength is in the collective. I mean, just say it out loud, lady. And meanwhile, she's running away from her own record on everything. Yesterday at a rally, she was like, I'll fight inflation day one. Well, I noticed that it is day 1,297 of you being vice president, and you haven't done a damn thing about inflation.
And those were just two examples, but independent media like this has exploded in the last decade and have contributed to legacy media falling in viewership. I mean, why would you watch multi-billion-dollar media corporations that are probably corrupted by money when you can watch some independent creator be genuine and actually deliver you the truth? And that's not to say there isn't misinformation online, but at the very least, many independent creators don't intentionally lie for political purposes, and it's clear to see that people respect that, as political streamer Hassan Abi averages over 20,000 viewers per stream, YouTube news channel like the Young Turks gets tens of millions of views per month, and even Alex Jones averages hundreds of thousands of views per day, despite being banned from like every big social media except Twitter. The point I'm trying to make is that no matter your politics, you can find a creator that fits your values, and legacy media just can't keep up with this level of freedom when it comes to choosing which source people will get their news from. Not only is legacy media losing the information war in terms of political discourse, which we went over in the last section, but just in a general sense, they're losing, and losing big. When's the last time mainstream media had a serious discussion on the possibility of a spiritual war between good and evil?
But like, there's something more. Like, there are a lot of people who seem to be just like for evil for its own sake. And you're like, maybe all the like crazy talk about a spiritual war of like good and evil, maybe there's something to that. Maybe that's not an illusion. Maybe that's like everyone else has always thought that. Maybe...
There are certainly forces that have evil consequences that exist.
But they act on people from the outside. And you feel it also on the other side. I mean, people are better than they naturally are sometimes.
When's the last time mainstream media had a serious discussion about what constitutes consciousness?
So it seems to be, unless I missed something huge in the world of philosophy, ethics, and neuroscience, it seems to be that we can't actually like detect when things are conscious. Like, we really don't have any way to know that. We can like look at some like brain things and say, well, it's doing this stuff, and you know, we kind of do that stuff, so maybe it is. But like, we can't truly know.
And when's the last time mainstream media had a serious discussion about the habitability of different planets in our solar system?
For SpaceX, the goal is to establish a self-sustaining city on Mars. Mars is the only viable planet for such a thing. The moon is close, but it lacks resources, and I think is probably vulnerable to any calamity that takes out Earth. The moon is too close. It's vulnerable to a calamity that takes out Earth.
I mean, these are important conversations to have, and if we have them as a society, we could build a much better future for everybody. But in stark contrast, news channels focus on topics that divide us and build more wealth for themselves, as the more people watch, the more advertisements they can show them. People are starting to watch these independent creators and coming out actually learning things and applying them to their own lives for the better. And that's why people are starting to realize how much of a time waster traditional news channels truly are. Information is being decentralized, which is making it harder for big corporations to control the flow of information. I mean, sure, yeah, you can pay off like 5 or 7 big media companies, but you can't pay off millions of people creating content online. We went over how independent political media is killing news channels by catering better to their audience, telling the truth, and having more insightful opinions on what really matters, and also went over how independent media in general, like podcast streams and YouTube videos, focus more on what really matters in society instead of focusing on the topics meant to divide us. But I just want to say that through the internet, you not only have independent sources to get information from, but also there are many websites to do your own research and to come up with your own conclusions based on the information you find. I mean, even I learned something new while researching this video, and all it takes is the internet, a sense of curiosity, and a free and open mind ready to learn. So going on into the future, streams like Aiden Ross hosting Trump will become much more common, and will lead to a better and more humanistic way of learning about the politicians that we vote into power. Yep, that's all.